Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And I got to start with this. Pundit to XRP holders, XRP hope has been renewed. So he's citing the Trump trade deal with China and also the Fed rate cut. He's saying that's bringing structure to the price of XRP. In other words, that we haven't seen the market stabilize from that yet, that it's going to happen over time. I agree with that to some extent, but nobody understands why the market decided to dump after the Fed cut rates and after the deal went well with China. That should have definitely sent these cryptocurrencies upward instantly, not have a delayed effect, is what I'm saying. You know the wave is coming. Ripple and Zero Hash and MasterCard. So you see, Ripple partners with Revolut and Zero Hash to expand RLUSD stablecoin access. MasterCard to acquire crypto startup Zero Hash for nearly $2 billion. So, more or less, Ripple is now partnered with MasterCard once again. It's just more and more rails being built in the background. That's what's been going on the entire time that we're distracted by the price of XRP. And this clip, I never like to show long clips in my videos, but this is the entire clip. And I mentioned this in a video the other day, but I only played the part where Brad Garlinghouse was talking. So this is the whole clip. Take a listen.
So let me level set by talking about a global consensus on crypto, because I want to juxtapose two very opposing views. The first is that crypto has been a huge outperforming asset class. If we look at the last 10 years, $1 million invested in the S&P 500 today would be worth $3 million. $1 million invested in Bitcoin 10 years ago would be worth $116 million. $1 million invested in Ethereum 10 years ago would be worth $500 million today. So as far as asset class performance, there is nothing even approaching the returns that have come from crypto. Yet we know that major institutions actually dismiss crypto completely. We know a major bank CEO says that he still doesn't care about Bitcoin, even though his customers want to use blockchain. And a recent Bank of America survey shows that 76% of clients have zero exposure to Bitcoin. So the vast majority of institutional investors do not want to own any Bitcoin. So it made me think about what are some things to talk about with consensus around crypto today globally. And I think there's two topics that we can cover in the next 30 minutes. There's just so much to talk about, but I think we can cover at least two. The first is crypto a genuine asset class, investment class? And the second is the consensus I believe that exists in this group is that crypto sits at the intersection today of two super cycles. One is Wall Street moving onto the blockchain, evidenced by stable coins and eventually tokenization of assets. But it's also sitting, I think, going to play a very important role in agentic AI. And that means that any region that supports the growth of blockchain and invests in it is going to also be sitting at this important intersection. So perhaps to start with the first topic, I'd like to ask Dr. Saifuddin, is crypto an asset class, and specifically Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think there's increasing clarity emerging around Bitcoin as being in a class of its own, essentially, as an investable asset. I think Bitcoin's demonstrated great product market fit. It's a decentralized currency. There's no issuer. There's no authority behind it. It's been launched in a perfectly fair way that anybody could mine and anybody could buy at the same price. So it's been relatively easy to convince regulators around the world that this is a commodity rather than a security. And I think this has become a pretty stable view among regulators. And I think among investors as well, I see that more and more people are becoming open to the idea because I think ultimately it serves a market need that is very well established. People all throughout human history have used money, and there are properties that make for good money, as I discuss in my book, The Bitcoin Standard. And there are these properties, I think if you look closely at Bitcoin, you'll see that, as I like to explain it, it's the most advanced form of money. It's the hardest form of money that we have. Its supply grows at the lowest rate of any money ever discovered. And it is also the fastest money that we have. It allows for international clearance without having to go through political authority. So this is becoming more and more appealing to people in capital markets, and I think there's more clarity in a regulatory manner for this, and I think we're going to be seeing more and more adoption worldwide. I think, the growth of Bitcoin has been tremendous over the past 16 years, and it's worked practically flawlessly, so I see it only increasing. Countries that have taken the lead in regulating Bitcoin in a permissive way have benefited their people. People have been able to buy it and hold it, and people who have held it for a long time have benefited from it enormously. And countries that have been late or countries that have been hostile, I think they should really be taking a long, hard look at it because they have effectively failed to make a dent in its growth. And all that they have achieved is to deprive their citizens from the chance of accessing this in a very easy and convenient way, and therefore deprive them of the chance of using this incredible new technology.
Great. And Ricardo, could you just tell us a little bit about your journey? I mean, we know that you invested a majority of your personal net worth into Bitcoin. What led you to make that bold decision?
I think it would be very useful for people here that are not so familiar with the terms to clarify what is this crypto thing. And in my idea, there's Bitcoin, there's stable coins, and then there's all the other tokens. That's crypto. Crypto is all tokens based on a blockchain. So which one are we talking about? When we say consensus on crypto, are we talking Bitcoin as the future of money? Are we talking stablecoin as the future of banking? Or are we talking other tokens as the future of new technology, decentralized open source? I think it's useful to have that conception in your mind. Now, personally, it's been a long journey. I started in 2013, so I'm very happy, of course, to be here, and a bit regretful that I didn't take it more seriously at the beginning. But the one message I would say to everybody else is, it's still early. And Bitcoin is the ultimate hard asset. Maybe a combination of Bitcoin and gold will save your savings from this pernicious debasement that's going on across all the currencies, across all the countries.
Okay. And, when I think about the Bitcoin rationale, why investors buy Bitcoin, I think one of the principal things that draws them here is the idea that Bitcoin is digital gold. It's a store of value in a world that's increasingly digital. What do you all think about the idea of, is Bitcoin going to be attractive if gold itself is available on the blockchain? So that if gold becomes digitized and we can buy it as easily as we can buy Bitcoin, would we still want to own Bitcoin?
The thing about tokenized gold is that you still have the counterparty risk. And you might show up there and there might not be any gold. The thing about Bitcoin is that the token itself, once you have it in your address, that's it. It's final settlement. So there's a big difference. I mean, it's very good for gold to be able to trade it like that, but you're certainly depending on the issuing party, the party that issues the tokens, to make good on that delivery.
And I would also add that it's essentially gold banking is illegal around the world. It's not really possible to make payments with gold. And therefore, people who use it as a store of value necessarily have to liquidate it in order to make their money mobile. We live in a global economy Most businesses deal across international borders, and they need their money to move. And in the digital economy, money's speed is increasing more and more, and therefore, gold if physically cannot keep up because I think it's too politically centralized, it's too politically sensitive. Whereas with Bitcoin, on the other hand, you've got final clearance and final settlement of a digital asset, which is native digital. So therefore, that allows it to be a lot faster. And I think that is why Bitcoin has massively outperformed gold over the past 16 years, and I would expect that trend to continue.
Tom, if I may, I think you're demonstrating that we don't have a global consensus about crypto. Even in this conversation, and I agree that it still is early, partly because there is not a global consensus about some of these things.
Agree.
And I think some of the use cases, we're still extremely early in terms of scaled use cases. Circle is certainly one example that has started to have a scaled use case around a stable coin. But I think the crypto industry, I agree, the next 16 years, I think will be better than the last 16 years because you'll finally see applications emerging that up until now have just been the store of value story or speculation.
Okay. I just was told the prince is coming, so we're going to actually have to end this conversation soon.
Pretty much what Brad just said is that Bitcoin and most of what they just said there is still speculation. And I agree with that. I mean, think about it like this. They're still pushing the store of value narrative. We see how Bitcoin holds up every time there's a crisis in the world or somebody talks about tariffs. Right away, Bitcoin comes plummeting down. That's not a good store of value, in my opinion. Plus, they compared it to digital gold. But what they don't realize is Bitcoin is going to become a tokenized asset in the future. I don't think it's going to happen over the course of the next year or so. But BlackRock, Larry Fink is already going down that road with tokenizing the Bitcoin ETFs. The next step BlackRock will most likely take is tokenizing actual Bitcoin because he wants to tokenize everything of value, personal property, everything, private property as well. They want to make everything around you a tokenized asset in the future. And nobody accepts Bitcoin. That guy talks like everywhere you go, they're accepting Bitcoin the way they accept Visa, MasterCard. And we all know how expensive and how slow Bitcoin actually is. The fact that Brad was sitting there listening to all of that, he was probably thinking the best way to transact in Bitcoin is to run it over the XRP ledger. And I think that will be happening as well. I think some people are already doing that. I think Michael Saylor might be doing that. He's talking about sending $50 million in Bitcoin in a matter of seconds for less than a penny. You also heard Eric Trump say something very similar to that. So are they running it over the XRP ledger already? Are they bypassing the Lightning Network? I would really love to know the exact answer to that. Top trending crypto, BlockDAG, Ripple, SHIB, and Dogecoin lead 2025's hottest crypto race. What I like about these articles is they always tell you the use case of XRP. But XRP is absolutely one of the best investments that you could make in 2025. You're not even tying up your money anymore if you're investing right now because this run is going to happen. It's going to begin before the end of this year. Most likely it's going to begin this month. We're now in November. Everybody's expecting that big November. Let's see how it plays out. Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin on the CME derivatives platform amid surging institutional interest in the former. So now that Ethereum is flipping Bitcoin in futures activity on CME, just wait until XRP flips both of them. So far, in this entire cycle, XRP has been outperforming both ETH and Bitcoin, and I expect that to continue. Wait until the ETFs go live. I'm telling you, everybody is speculating on where these ETFs are going to go. I think the inflows are going to be so much bigger than people think. I still believe in this run, XRP is going to emerge as the biggest shocker. And I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of regrets for not investing in this cryptocurrency. And until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.